and welcome to Tiny Table Talk for The Challenge All-Stars Season 3, Episode 3, and we got a lot to go over in this video. We're going to be talking about alliances, we're talking about missteps, handing out gold stars, and getting to some of the comments from my Wednesday's review and recap. Now, let's jump in, starting with... Alright, let's first talk about how messy this episode was from a strategic standpoint. It was just all over the place, starting with Kendall. I mean, I think she made the worst move she could possibly made in the moment. I mean, what was that decision to sabotage MJ, who is in her room, who seems to be somebody who wants to work with Kendall and is close with Kendall? I mean, John A seems close with everybody. Let's just be real. John A at one point was saying in the confessionals that her and Kendall were super close because they've done 3 seasons now together. I've barely seen them have any screen time with each other. So I don't know how close their bond is, but it just sounds like Kendall was on the outside along with Kellyanne with the Treehouse Alliance, which is now made up of Kayla, Sylvia, Veronica, Ronnie, and Derek, the 5 of them, with Jemmye and Tina both being DQ'd from the season, pulling themselves out of this game. All their eyes are on Kendall and Kellyanne. They do not want to see them in the game any further, and that's who they voted in last episode to go in against Veronica. I do think that Veronica dodged a bullet. That was going to be a tough elimination for either Kendall or Veronica, but I would give the edge to Kendall, especially in that specific elimination. But we'll never know at this moment. I just think that Kendall, if you know that there are people that are not working with you, just take the shot. You know that you're on their hit list. I think that out of her indecision, she tried to make the best move that would cause the least amount of ripples in the water. But now all eyes are on you. And what were once close bonds are no longer. And I feel like Kendall is on an island with Kellyanne. We have yet to see really any conversations between Kendall and Darrell, but you know that bond is there, that friendship is there. But I just feel like Kendall made all the wrong moves this episode, and you kind of know that Kendall is on the bottom rung of the house when it comes to the women's side. Yes, she's a strong competitor. Yes, she can win any and all daily challenges if given the opportunity. But if there is ability to sabotage, if there are abilities where players can work together and take players out, Kendall will not win a daily challenge in that type of way. And I think as long as there are some form of Treehouse Alliance or John A has some persuasion on whoever is in the authority, Kendall is going to be thrown in over and over and over again until she's out of this game. It just feels like John A is taking Kendall's sabotage super personally, and it wasn't even thrown on her. Personally, I think it would have helped John A's game if MJ were to have gotten eliminated. MJ and John A won last season together. They are seen as a package deal, and they are not hiding the fact that they are very close with one another. So if you are known winners from the previous season, and you guys are so close with one another, and all this campaigning from John A to get Kendall sent in because of the trying to get revenge for what she did to MJ is just showing how close they are together and how close of a bond they are together, which is a red flag to everybody else. It should be a red flag. And I think, if anything, it could have helped John A's game in the long run if MJ would have been taken out this episode. But I think Cyrus overthought this elimination. I think he did a great job against Tyler. I still think he did a great job in this episode. He still could have won despite missing a ton of the sandbags early on. I mean, Cyrus at one point had a hole. He had a sizable hole that he could have just jumped right on through and then easily rang that bell. I think he overthought himself. Like he said in his confessional afterwards, he played himself, he beat himself, and I 100% agree with that. I mean, Cyrus, I hope we see him come back because I just felt like we saw a different Cyrus this season. He was in much better shape. He wasn't the injured one in this elimination, surprising, and he has done a great job in this past episode's daily challenge, being in the right place at the right time to get into the top 5. This episode proves how 1 or 2 little details that you miss or in the moment you kind of like get too frazzled can be the ending to your game in a blink of an eye. And this episode was so messy and there were so many missteps that I think that everybody involved are going to get their hands dirty and are going to be involved in the mess for a long time, being Veronica, Kendall, MJ, Wes. Yes, I just think that there was so much mess happening in this episode in particular that's going to be the arc of the whole season. And some of it I'm here for, and others I'm just waiting to see how dramatic it can actually get, because this is what we've been wanting on a challenge season, and this is going to get very, very messy. Now, as I mentioned in the previous segment, there were 2 DQs in this specific episode. One was Tina with her broken hand having to leave and be medically DQ'd. Then you have Jemmye with her family emergency and having to pull herself out of the game to be by her family's side and her dad's side. So in turn, we did not get a women's elimination, and if you watched until the preview for the next episode, we see that there's an ATV bringing in someone to be a reinforcement. It looked to be in some of the trailers a blonde-haired player. It could be Beth. It could be Trishelle. Those 2 are the main blonde players that I remember from the past 2 seasons. I have to be inclined that it could be Beth. Beth was originally supposed to be on this cast, but then there was some commotion that happened when she met up with either Veronica or Tina, or she saw either Veronica or Tina at the airport when coming into Panama, and Beth kind of freaked out, was talking to producers, and producers let her stay on and let her be an alternate. So I feel like this could be Beth coming into the game. I don't know what her relationship is with Kellyanne or Kendall. I'm sure she has a good standings with John A. But when it comes to Veronica, when it comes to Kayla, Sylvia, Naya, Ronnie, I don't know exactly who she's worked with. I know she's never played a season with Kayla or Sylvia or Naya. I think she has a good understanding with Derek and Nehemiah, but when it comes to the rest of the treehouse, I don't think she plays well with them, and it would be hard to not think that the treehouse would just go directly after her. So if it is Beth, which I'm 98% believing that it is, I think that Beth will be just another person on the hit list for the Treehouse Alliance, and coming in late does not help things out. It's going to get messy. I mean, the house is already pretty messy, and Beth coming in could only be exciting. I just wish Cyrus was still in the game if that's the case. Like, that's what it would be awesome if Cyrus was still here, and if Tina was still here. I mean, that would be another layer to if possibly Beth was coming in. So we'll have to see how it's going to go down when the player comes in and how that could possibly shake up the game. All right, let's hand out some gold stars. And for the men's side, I'm going to give my gold star this episode to Jordan. Jordan didn't do a whole lot in the authority, but seeing the way his trajectory of his game is going so far, I mean, coming in as a huge threat, and then all of a sudden it's like Yes starts coming in as the bigger threat, and things start to move and groove in the house to where now Jordan is being asked by Wes for a favor, asked by Wes to throw in Yes. And Jordan has won himself twice into the authority. I think Jordan is now like being able to hide in plain sight a little bit, and it's pretty interesting. It's really, really strong gameplay from Jordan, and I thought he was going to get a shot taken at him early and often, and he's been able to win against this group of competitors in multiple different challenges, as well as when he was sabotaged, he was able to win. He's just performing really, really strong. And on the women's side, I'm going to give my gold star this episode to, I guess I'll give it to Kayla. I think Kayla is playing a strong game, a strong season. She is one of the younger competitors. She is playing outright with a very big alliance, but having that big alliance, having that established room that those established bonds, and then the way she is able to play in the challenges, get very far, get so much help, and now she has won twice into the Authority. It's just going to be a really tough time to stop both Kayla, Sylvia, and the Treehouse Alliance, I think, moving forward. I think that Kayla is well established and proved that she is a strong competitor in this specific episode. Now let's read some comments from my Wednesday's review and recap. And the first comment comes from Shaylon. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. The nostalgia that the music provides make the episode so much better. Hearing Dirty by Xtina while they're in the mud was perfect. I will say that when I heard the beginning track with Robin, Show Me Love, that took me back. That was awesome. It definitely adds to the show that the main show is lacking because of all the classic tunes that they can put on. Next comment comes from Horror Movie Scream Queen saying, yes, Wes, yes, Wes. It's like a tongue twister when talking about both of them at the same time. Yeah, especially when they were one-on-one like that. My brain, I will say that I'm happy about my brain just like going on autopilot, and it knew exactly how to keep it. I was doing a great job until I actually like pointed it out to myself. The next comment comes from Cam, who says, the Treehouse is giving Lavender Lady vibes, and I don't trust or like it. The Treehouse could be even more powerful than the Lavender Ladies Alliance. Like, the Lavender Ladies would never turn on each other. I think the Treehouse could, but with losing 2 members that quickly, I think they're going to be even stronger bonds within the game. And yeah, with this group, they just keep winning. They're going to be super powerful and hard to take out when you have 2 or 3 of them winning into the Authority week in and week out. Next comment comes from Docs Pops Reviews, who says, Angel Cake, my wife and I love the challenge and your channel. Can you give her a birthday shout out on your tiny table talk? Happy birthday, Kathleen. Happy birthday, Kathleen. I wouldn't do this for everybody, but I'm going to do it for Docs Pop Reviews because they have been loyal viewers of the channel for a long time now, like seasons on seasons, I think for a few years, and we've shared an affinity for pop vinyl figures, so I wanted to give a special shout out to Docs Pop Reviews, as well as happy birthday, Kathleen. I hope you have a very happy birthday. The next comment comes from Jessica, who says, did anyone else clock how Jordan low-key helped Wes? He brought him a ball in round 1. I did not until I read your review. I remember seeing Jordan having like 2 balls and then dropping one in the middle. I didn't know what he was doing, but I've watched this episode like 3 or 4 times, and it still didn't register to me until I read your comment. And it was very interesting. There could be this like truce between Wes and Jordan, and then maybe they'll rekindle it once they have taken their shots at yes, or something else happens to where then they're on each other's bad sides again. Next comment comes from Michaela, who says, I can't believe we already had 2 medical DQs and 1 person had to leave for a family emergency. You know what I can't believe is that we just had all of that, but then in the next episode, it looks like somebody else is getting taken off in a stretcher, heading to the hospital in next episode as well, which you don't want to see people leave like that. I hope Jemmy's dad is okay, but I'm really excited to see who's going to be coming in as an alternate. I have no idea who it could be. Of course, in the earlier segment, I kind of give who I think is going to be coming in as the reinforcement. Somebody else said Jody in the comment section when I was looking for comments for this segment, and I didn't even think of Jody at the beginning. She could. The blonde hair seemed really blonde, so that's why I think it didn't register me that it could be Jody. But if Jody comes in, she is a game changer. Like, she comes in and she is going to be a full force wrecking crew. And then we have Supplemental Sense, who says, I know it won't happen, but how sweet would it be if the person they brought in to join the game was Evelyn? Again, didn't even register. I don't think it's a possibility. I think it's like 0.02% that Evelyn could be coming in. But if she has blonde hair, she would be in the running of coming in. That would be terrible on the challenge casting if they were like, oh, we kept Evelyn in the alternate house. We didn't think, maybe not. Like, what? If Evelyn was on site, she needed to be in the game. Next comment comes from Lovable Nikki, who says, I agree with Drew. Thank you. I was pulling for Cyrus. I thought he had it too. I too thought he had an opening large enough to go through. So hurt. I think he really just got caught up in it. I think when he kept on missing the shots, that gets into your psyche, and then hearing MJ start pounding away at the hammer first and at the wall first, I think it just built up and he was just questioning everything. And I think that he kind of went into survival mode. It just did not work out. And I think like he said, he beat himself. It's not so much MJ beat him, he beat himself. So I'm hoping that we can see him again and that he can take care of business in an elimination in the next season and hopefully make it to that finals in All-Stars 4. I'm calling it right now. Cyrus is going to make it to the finals in All-Stars 4. Jonah comes in with a comment saying, where do Tina's stars go? Just poof, gone? I think Kendall should have asked a better question like, can I sabotage someone who's already been sabotaged? Imagine Wes with 70 pounds of weight on him. That is the one question she did not ask. She asked about every other question, including, can I sabotage myself? But yeah, I think that would have been a very interesting question to ask. Like, can I sabotage someone else? Because you could have done that in the swing one, in the previous Out of Reach challenge, and you could have dropped somebody for 2 minutes with a delay. So that could have been an interesting question to ask. I don't think they would have allowed it here because of the double vest, but I think that would have been a decent question to ask. And yeah, I guess Tina's stars are just all gone. But something Alex brings up is interesting, where they say, I'd prefer to have the women elimination, and the TJ saying, you know you can stay, or something like that. What happened to Big T? So when I first thought of the women's elimination, I was like, okay, well, I still would have liked to have seen both Kendall and Veronica go up against each other, even though we know one of them would not be leaving. But then I was like, at least with the Challenge 37, there was incentive for the winner, because then you could swap teams. And so that's why I think they played the elimination on Challenge 37, but you can't really play for somebody else's star on this season. Like, if Kendall would have won, she can't take Veronica's star because Veronica's star is her. So you can't really be in the game with no stars. So I can understand that. But in thinking that Tina's stars are just up in the air, it would have been interesting if the women could have faced off against each other in the elimination for Tina's stars. But then again, would that have been fair? Because it's not one of them beating Tina to get Tina's 3 stars. It's just them going up against each other who they don't really have the stars. But I don't know. It would have been interesting to see, but I think they went with what they thought was the most fair. But I agree with you, Alex. I wish we would have seen an elimination via the women, since there was this contention during the daily between Veronica and Kendall. But that is it for this week's Tiny Table Talk. What do you think about this episode? What do you think about the reinforcement? Who do you think it is? Let me know anything and everything you think about this season down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you for watching this video up to this point. I really, really appreciate it. As well as I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge All-Star content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.